Welcome back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Padres farm system. It's honestly been a while since we have, just because Padres have been in the wild card hunt. So it seems like every day something kind of changes or or not really our opinions change, but, the situation that they're in just alters a little bit. And it's really important to monitor. So we haven't really talked about the farm in a while. So want to do that today. Also, at 6:30 tonight, Pacific time, we're going to be going live for the Dodgers-Padres series. I'm going to be doing a series preview, and we're going to have Jim Russell on as well. So make sure to come to that if you haven't came to one of our live streams before. Pretty fun. So that's the plan for later tonight. But we didn't get an episode out yesterday, so we wanted to make sure we got this along with the live stream today. So, Chase, I'll let you start. I want to just quickly go over like an overall update on some of these the bigger name prospects and maybe some other guys that have been flourishing as well.
Yeah, well, honestly, the Padres system has been flourishing, man. It's been amazing. We've had a lot of guys just come up out of nowhere and just, our draft picks have really kicked it off hot. So starting off, we're going to talk about Joshua Mears. He's hitting 253 for the whole season. Or no, my bad, 244, 368, a 529 slugging, and 897 OPS. But throughout the month of August, he was hitting 264, had over 1,000 OPS, had 11 home runs just throughout that month. He's been killing it. He's going to make a great DH for when inevitably it comes to the NL. Let's hope Manfred doesn't mess that up. Then Robert Hassell is looking like one of the more premier prospects in the Padres organization. Probably could be rivaling not Joshua Mears, CJ Abrams in talent. So far, he's hitting 319 with a 409 on base percentage and an 897 OPS, but he is hitting 324 in his recent promotion to single A Fort Wayne, which is, I guess, the high A, so a little bit higher level. And inevitably, I don't know if it's going to be this year, but he might be called up for the San Antonio or the AA team when they go to the playoffs. It might be a little nice boost to have and really see what talent or how far you can push his talent this season. Mackenzie Gore, he is having a down year. He has a 4.14 ERA. However, looks like he's fixed his mechanics. His velocity's back up. He's no longer dealing with the finger blister, and he's all the way back up to AA, which he should be starting at either this weekend or Monday or Tuesday. Depending on how he pitches there, he might either stay there or make another jump to AAA just to see how he finishes off the season. If not, he might be able to join us at the end of the season because, let's be real, all of us had to choose between Gore and Arrieta. I'm pretty sure we'd all choose Gore. Kevin Kopps. So far, he's only one run in rookie ball, but since his promotion to Fort Wayne, he's thrown 7 innings. I was only giving up 2 hits with 8 strikeouts. He's been phenomenal reliever. He's one of those guys that can, switch between relievers, starter. He can go multiple innings. He did it all at Arkansas. He even closed some games. It's going to be really interesting to see how his cutter-slider mix plays out. Next up, we got Robert Gasser. He's another one of the picks from this 2020 draft or 2021 draft. He has a 1.5 ERA. He has been promoted to Lake Elsinore, where he's thrown 11 innings and has only given up 2 earned runs. He's kind of projected to be like a mid-level starter with potential to be more. He really broke out his last season of college, and it's great to see him building off of it. He's probably going to finish off in Lake Elsinore, and maybe, depending on how the offseason goes, if he gets an invitation to spring training, he might jump up. But I expect him to finish out in Lake Elsinore with practically how he's been doing, pretty much dominating. One of the lesser names, but he's really kind of made a name for himself this year, is Uribiel Angeles. He's been killing it with the bat. He's hitting 341 with a 401 on base, 866 on OPS. The man is doing it all. He's made a name for himself this year. He's come out of nowhere. And, probably the reason we made some of the trades that we did is we have guys like him, with Preller being able to find talents like him that just pop up out of nowhere and make a name for themselves. And so, in our system, no prospect is really like untradeable unless you're like Abrams, Gore, and I would say Hassell at this point, just because the man is something special. Next up, we got Luis Camposano. We all know him. We all love him. As of right now, he is hitting 295 with a 365 on base and a 906 OPS. He's killing it. He's showing himself that he's a hitter. I think the only thing that he really needs to improve on is his defense, but even then, it's not bad. We've had worse catchers back there. But hey, if he can do what he does with the bat at the MLB level, then you know what? He's going to be the catcher full term. And you know what? I think we all want to see it. We all want to see our catcher hit some bombs because that's kind of the one position that we lack that has any sort of power. And then coming up, the man that has had himself quite a year until he got to AAA. We were all high on him. Adrian Martinez. He's kind of slumped down ever since he got to AAA, but he's still having a pretty solid year. It's a 3.47 ERA in 103 innings. His last start didn't go as well as it could have. 4 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. But he's starting to make the adjustment in AAA, and I think that's the most important part. His outing before that was 5 innings, 2 earned runs. And that's great compared to what he was doing when he first got called up to AAA, because we were all like, wow, he's finally in AAA. I think this is the next step, and then he's going to get called up to the bigs. And then his first start was like 10 earned runs, and the next start was like 7 earned runs. And we're like, well, never mind. I guess we're settling for Arrieta again. But now that he's kind of calming down and coming around, I feel like it's going to be a fight between him and Gore for potentially winning that 5th spot if we go into playoffs. Because realistically, like I said before, I'd much rather take Gore over Arrieta coming out of the bullpen or starting, just because Gore's potential is that much greater. And I think at this point you might want to let him figure it out at the MLB level. But yeah, everybody's been doing great. Minus Adrian Martinez, who had a little slip, but the farm system's like amazing.
Yeah, it's a good thing those guys are amazing because the teams individually are not very good themselves. AAA El Paso's like 20 games back in their division. AA, they're like 2 games back at the playoffs right now. They're under 500 by 5 games, so hopefully they're able to make playoffs. So if they want to bring up Hassell, they'd pretty much have to do it now because their season's ending soon. So that's why I kind of think Hassell might just stay down in high A ball, and he's doing amazing. Earlier in the year, I was talking about how CJ Abrams is one of those guys who, was just dominating or at least doing pretty good at all levels that he's played at so far. Spring training, he had a home run off Trevor Bauer. He was showcasing his ability to play at the major league level. He looked fantastic defensively and offensively. And he's realistically a guy that we can see starting next year, whether it be in the first month or so, who knows, but he should be up next year. I think everyone is probably interested in what Mackenzie Gore is doing. His last outing, I forgot how many hits he allowed, but his first inning was pretty tough. But the rest of it, he calmed down. He got settled in. He had a pretty good outing after that. Was it 3 runs? It was 3 runs, right? And like 8 hits, something like that. So he had a pretty good outing after that. But obviously, what we see is going to be affected by that first inning. So I think if there's going to be anyone fighting for his 5th spot in the playoffs, I don't think there will be a 5th spot, but there probably will be a bullpen spot. And I say there won't be a 5th spot just because I know in the playoffs, a lot of people go with 3 or 4 pitchers. So maybe there will be a bullpen spot. And if I had to give a bullpen spot to anyone, it'd probably be Gore. We saw in that Indians World Series run that Mike Clevenger was coming out of the bullpen at one point when he was one of their prospects, and he looked good doing it. And now Mike Clevenger is one of the top pitchers in the bigs with a 3.18 ERA in his career. So he's looked fantastic. I think that's kind of a good way to get, one of your top prospects in there, get him some innings, get him in those kind of big time situations that he's going to be in for the rest of his career, hopefully. But Abrams is hurt right now. Like I said, I think he'll be a great prospect next year. Robert Hassell, we could realistically see him maybe at the All-Star break next year, or maybe when, we get extra roster spots in September, but don't rule it out. He could be a solid, if he has a good spring training, maybe we'll see him. 2023 is for sure when he'll be up. But Gore, he should be up next year. Camposano, I actually thought would get called up this year. He struggled earlier in the year, but I actually thought he had some good at-bats. It's just defensively, he didn't look very good. I'll admit that. It looked like pitchers were visibly frustrated with how he would catch. and that's an aspect that he had to improve on. So all we can hope is that he improved on that in his time in AAA. Adrian Martinez been struggling pretty heavily. When he was doing stuff in AA, everything looked good, everything was great. I didn't expect him to be a star. I thought he'd get called up for sure with the recent struggles the struggles in July and some of August that the Padres were going through in the pitching rotation. But it was iffy. So I guess, not calling him up, paid off. Might need some time because is he a top 30 prospect? He's like 27, right? So he's up there. It's just he's not, go for a minute.
Last time I saw he was 29.
Yeah, so it's 29. Like he's not a premier prospect. So I kind of expected him to have like a Pedro Avila outing from 2019, in his first start. But, it's good to see these guys. Our prospects are flourishing. They're doing really well. And I think at least some of the top guys, Gore, Camposano, Hassell, Abrams, they're going to be key contributors. Mears is hitting for a lot of power. So, there's a lot of guys contributing right now. Unfortunately, the rest of their team isn't doing very well. But, we don't care about that. We want to see our top guys flourishing.
Isn't it weird how, I guess it kind of matters for, experience in, pivotal situations and whatnot. But, it doesn't really matter what the minor league system does in terms of, winning. Now, I promise you the coaching staff probably doesn't feel the same way, but it is really about the development, which is just, it's interesting, how different the dynamic of the game is compared to MLB. But going back to some of these guys, I love the potential playoff idea for Hassell if the AA team makes it. You said there were 2 games back, I think, Isaac. But there were 5 back from 500, which is interesting. But if they somehow snuck in, I think that'd be great. But really getting him, the most, the highest he can get up to this year, I think that's a good idea. I do really like that. So I would agree with that. I don't think that Mackenzie Gore should be called up to the MLB this year. I know that he could provide a spark, but I don't know. I feel like it would probably be more detrimental than help this year, just because we've seen how up and down it's been, and to just after such a chaotic year, it seems that he's finally ending it on a positive note where he can have a chance this offseason to reset and really become the guy that we all think he can be. Because I think we all still think he can be a really good pitcher. Now he dropped way low in the farm system, in the overall rankings. I get that he's been struggling, but I still think he outperforms that. I think he's gonna be better. He might not be as the super elite guy that we thought he was, but I think he's gonna turn into be a above average at the very least starter. I still think he has the stuff, he has the talent, so I'm still expecting that. But I think just the chance that maybe it kind of, I don't know, it could be detrimental. I feel like if he just comes out there, gets rocked, and kind of gets shook again, and it's oh, let's go and figure out the mechanics again, and I think it could be more negative than positive. And for him, I don't think it's smart to do that. Still want to see Campy. I would love to see Camposano get some time. I know that he wouldn't get a ton of playing time, but I would much rather him be the catcher than Caratini. Caratini has provided almost nothing on offense for months. And every time they come out with Darvish, or not necessarily Darvish, but Musgrove sometimes as well. Whenever Caratini's behind the plate, it just feels like it's such a drop off from Nola. And even Nola hasn't even been amazing. He's had some moments, but he hasn't been amazing in his small sample size. So getting a guy like Luis Camposano, who's been as hot as anyone, really, he's been great. I think putting him in the lineup, I think it helps your chances of winning, and it gives you hey, this is what this guy is. And if they're worried, oh, we might have him come up and he might struggle and we might lose trade value on him, I feel like that's a terrible way to go about it. So if that's the reason, and I'm not saying that is, but I'm saying if that is the reason, I don't think that's for the right reasons. You should be trying to maximize your players in growth potential. I guess it's kind of opposite what I'm saying for Mackenzie Gore. I just feel like they're in much different situations though, where we already saw Luis Camposano come up there, struggle, and now he's already grown a full season of playing well. And I think that's the difference for me though. So I would like to see Campy up there. Even if it's just pinch hit at bats and he starts one day a week, I still think that's solid because their season is about to end. And then the other person I wanted to bring up was Adrian Martinez. I think that's a little bit surprising that he came up there and he just got really rocked. But if you take a step back, and I think maybe we got too excited just with his numbers in AA. And if you take a step back, he is the 29th ranked prospect. Not to say that he can't become a very good pitcher, but it might take him a little bit longer than, just flying through the minor league system. And so maybe that's why he didn't get the call. Still don't love the idea of having Jake Arrieta in the starting rotation, but maybe that's not why it wasn't his name called. I think still I would rather see Reese Kinnear though. So that's where I'm at with everyone. Anything else you guys want to add?
I really think it just depends. Like, we all know playoffs, it's 3 to 4 pitchers. So, you could always get one guy that get called up instead of Arrieta. I really just don't want Arrieta pitching at any time in the playoffs. We've seen his track record this year. I'd much rather see any other guy from the minor leagues than Arrieta. I don't care how much they struggle. It's just Arrieta's been that bad in the MLB. So I trust our farm system more. I would trust a guy that's never pitched in the MLB more than Jake Arrieta at this point. So, I mean, when you throw 5 innings and 3 earned runs and your ERA goes down, it's kind of a sad thing to look at.
I agree. I think we got asked recently what we thought about Jake Arrieta, and I said his velocity is still down to like 90 to 92, but he actually had some life on his ball, on his, I think it was his fastball. I don't know what it was, but he had some life on it. But at the same time, Jake Arrieta is throwing on Tuesday against statistically the best team in baseball. I don't know how confident we can feel in that. We're going into that series with Darvish. It's Darvish, Arrieta, Paddock. No, it's a 4-game series though, so it'd be.
So Musgrove then Paddock.
Musgrove will be pitching at that series, I believe. So I don't know. I think that Arrieta one's. I don't know who they're gonna pitch. I think right now it was a bullpen game. I'm not entirely sure, but they'll have someone lined up. Maybe Logan Webb. I don't know, but that seems like a guaranteed loss. So we can only hope that he goes 4 or 5 innings and 2-3 run ball.
Yeah, I agree. And at this moment, every game is so important that you don't want to see that. So I agree with that. I still think it's Reese Kinnear by far. Like, I'd rather have him go out and actually start, even though he hasn't looked that good. But we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping Arrieta does great. I'm hoping he goes out there and throws 6 shutout innings. That would be fantastic. But I'm not expecting that at all. So I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but want to talk about the farm. Remember, we are going to be going live in a little bit here. So 6:30 is when we're going to go live, but that's going to do it for this episode today. A lot of positivity from the farm. So that's a nice change of things compared to not the worst stuff lately, but over the last 2 months, I mean, I feel like Padres Twitter and I don't know, everything has kind of got kind of depressing. So it's nice to see that it's like across the board, guys are doing pretty well outside of like one guy who we probably should have expected to struggle a little bit more than we did. So very, very positive stuff in this episode, which is nice. But that's going to do it for today. Make sure to come to the live stream very shortly. So talk to you guys soon.